This ant is not an ant. It's a spider. One of many spiders who have figured out how to impersonate ants almost perfectly. You may still not see the difference, but look closely. Too many legs, too many eyes. Spiders that mimic ants are fairly common, but often difficult to find because they are so easily overlooked due to their camouflage. Over 300 spider species are known to mimic ants. The mimicking traits have arisen independently in at least 13 different spider families. And the Ant-Mimicry is useful in multiple ways. Spiders, although predators, are frequent prey for larger animals, and more importantly, other spiders. But now, consider the ant. The ant walks through the world with confidence. It marches in the open, and the reason is simple. To eat an ant is, more often than not, a mistake. Ants bite, ants sting, ants spray formic acid. Ants do not travel alone, but as members of a colony whose members will come pouring out of the ground to defend their own. A bird that takes on an ant colony learns quickly not to do it again. If predators have learned to avoid ants, then any animal that can convince a predator it is an ant inherits that protection. This is called Batesian Mimicry, a harmless species evolving to resemble a harmful one. When the model species being copied is an ant, we call it myrmecomorphy, or ant form, and spiders are among the greatest myrmecomorphs. An ant and a spider are not close cousins. The two groups parted ways somewhere between 500 and 600 million years ago. To ask a spider to look like an ant is to ask two branches of life that separated before fish existed to converge on a body shape. The differences in their body structures are not merely cosmetic. Ants and spiders have a different number of body segments and a different number of legs. Their head structures are completely different, and spiders also completely lack antennae. They walk differently too. Ants move their legs the ordinary insecty way, in opposing tripod movement, with muscles that flex and extend at each joint. Spiders cannot do this. They lack extensor muscles at their major leg joints, and instead extend their legs by pumping fluid through their bodies under hydraulic pressure. So to do all this, an ant-mimicking spider has to exploit a handful of body modifications that together transform its silhouette into something more ant-like. The most important is the constriction of the body. The spider's cephalothorax narrows and pinches in, often developing a groove partway through its length. A 2-part spider becomes a 3-part ant. There are also changes in color and texture. The mimicking spider is often clothed in flattened hairs and reflective scales that reproduce the shininess of an ant. Many mimics carry dark patches on the sides of their head, exactly where an ant's compound eyes would sit. The weaver ant mimic, Myrmaplata platyleoides, wears 2 such false eyes, and so a predator studying the mimic's head finds an ant eyes staring back. Mimicry is also a matter of behavior. Watch an ordinary jumping spider and you'll see a particular style of movement. Short, deliberate bursts, pausing, and then long stretches of sitting perfectly still. An ant-mimicking spider doesn't stalk and freeze. It moves along a restless, winding path, forelegs lifted and waving, pausing only briefly before moving again. It does not read as a spider moving, it reads as an ant. Their most famous behavior is antennal illusion. The spider has no antennae and has too many legs, so it lifts its front pair of legs and waves them in front of its head, reproducing the restless motion of an ant's antennae. The mimics do not permanently sacrifice these 2 legs, though. They walk on all 8, but they do so in brief bursts, raising their forelegs into the antennal position only during the split-second pauses between those bursts. The illusion is stitched together from an alternating sequence. Walk on 8, pause, and raise your fake antennae, before walking again. The spiders also walk along winding paths like the complex path real ants walk while following a pheromone trail. But for all its sophistication, this disguise has a persistent weak point. In many ant-mimicking spiders, it is the males who threaten to give away the truth. In numerous species of the genus Myrmarachne and its relatives, adult males grow elongated chelicerae projecting forward from the head. In the red weaver ant mimic Myrmaplata plateatoides, a male's chelicerae can stretch up to half of its body length. These are weapons used in combat with rival males, and they are too extravagant. No ant has a face like that. The male Myrmarachne is a failed mimic of an ant, but he is a successful mimic of an ant carrying another ant. Ants routinely transport things in their jaws out in front of them. The male's elongated chelicerae do not read as deformed, but as an ant plus cargo. This is called compound mimicry. The model is not a single ant, but an ant and cargo combination. Tested against real predators, offering a choice among males, females, ordinary ants, and ants encumbered with cargo, a predator preferred to attack encumbered ants over unburdened ones, choosing the long-jawed males more than the females. The mouth ornaments are actually a second clever layer of disguise. But not every predator hunts by sight. Some hunt by smell, and against those, a spider could be a flawless visual replica of an ant and still be caught the instant it was sniffed out. Some ant mimics have answered this too, adding a chemical layer beneath the visual one. Researchers took an ant-mimicking spider and tested it against visual hunters that identify prey by sight, and chemically oriented hunters that identify prey by scent. The findings were that the mimics eluded both. The most thoroughly studied chemical imposter is the jumping spider Cosmophasis bitiniata. It does not merely resemble weaver ants, it steals the ant's chemical identity. Cosmophasis bitiniata acquires and carries a matching chemical profile so that the ants themselves smell the spider as one of their own. This chemical passkey lets it move among the weaver ants and prey on their larvae, walking through the colony's defenses undetected. This is aggressive mimicry. A predator uses disguise not to avoid being eaten, but to get close to its prey. Myrmarachne melanotarsa, a social ant-mimicking jumping spider in East Africa, preys on the eggs and juveniles of other jumping spiders, specifically ones that have a fear of ants and that keep their distance from anything ant-shaped. The very ant appearance that protects this Myrmarachne from being eaten by predators is the same ant appearance that lets it approach the nests of its own prey unchallenged, because those prey animals are too frightened of ants to defend themselves against something that looks like one. And Myrmarachne melanotarsa is weird in another way. Most jumping spiders are solitary, but this species lives in aggregations. Clusters can exceed 50 individuals sharing a communal nest. The explanation appears to be, once again, mimicry. A single ant is intimidating, but a colony of ants is far more dangerous. It would be easy to conclude that ant mimicry has no drawbacks, but the disguise exacts a price. The first cost is movement. The constricted cephalothorax, the narrow legs, the pinched abdomen all limit the jumping spider's ability to jump and thus capture prey. The elongated ant-like body cannot leap and seize the way an ordinary jumping spider's compact muscular body can. The constriction that fakes an ant's narrow head and thorax also squeezes the space available for the spider's own organs. Detailed internal imaging has indicated that the pinched ant-like prosoma comes at the expense of the central nervous system, which is reduced relative to the spider's body size. and their narrow abdomen leaves less room for eggs, so fewer offspring. Then there is the ironic cost. To wear the body of an ant is to attract the enemies of the ant. Not every predator avoids ants. A minority actively hunt them. And to those hunters, an ant-shaped spider is not a warning. Other ant-eating jumping spiders sometimes prey on Myrmarachne, drawn in by the resemblance that repels everyone else. These ant mimics represent one of nature's most ornate answers to a universal problem. The world is full of things that want to eat you, and there are only so many ways to survive. You can grow armor, you can have poison, you can hide better, or you can convince the world that you are something it has already learned to fear. You can wear the face of an enemy